your boy Tone. Coming back at you one more again. All right, so let's get into it. Let's talk about evictions. And the reason why I want to talk about evictions, not because I'm getting evicted, I'm not getting evicted. I want to talk about evictions is because there, of course, is a rise in homeless all over the world. That's because there's a rise in the cost of living. That cost of living is going up 3% here. So in the state of Ohio, I believe we are 7% tax. I need to look that up, but I think that is. So the cost of everything is going up. Food is going up. Gas is going up. Gas is not what it used to be. Just the gas itself. When you go to get gas, see if you can smell the gas. Like I got gas yesterday, I can't smell it. It doesn't smell like gas. You know what I'm saying? I don't smell any gas smell at all. That's really, really weird. So gas is not the same. Also, gas is running through my trucks like it. Okay, so I'm not getting the same mileage out of the same gallon of gas. So that's a topic in itself, but I'm not getting nowhere near the same mileage. So that's a problem. And so now I have to constantly, of course, go back to get more gas, and it's changing the way I do everything. It really is. So like today, I wanted to, go and look at this refrigerator, get it, and of course flip it. But when I looked at how far they live 51 miles from me, or 51 minutes from me, and then I got to consider gas, how much it would cost me to get there, and then how much I'm flipping it for. It eats right into your profits, big time. So I'm looking at least $60, $70 just to go get it, and it's not even an hour away. That's real. So I was looking at another refrigerator that was, here in town, and I went for that one, but I think somebody got it before I did. That's the way the cookie crumbles now. The cost of gas is ridiculous. However, when it comes to evictions, there are several things that are going on. For one, there are a lot of people being kicked out for gentrification. And if you're kicked out for gentrification, you're going to notice that there are people who have more money than you moving into that same spot that you had and paying twice as much. Now, this already happened to me. I spoke about it before. I was living in a spot, costing me some $250, some 20 years ago, whatever. Well, about 12 years ago. The people was like, you got to leave. They made us some cockamamie story. It's like you got 45 days to get out. That was legal. They're allowed to do that. I could have fought it, but why? And then they raised the rent to $500. I'm sure it's a lot more now. So, yeah, that really happens. If they don't want you, listen, if your landlord doesn't want you in that spot, they can evict you, legally evict you. The thing about it is, when they legally evict you, they can't keep collecting rent while they do it. So they can't go get out and pay us rent. So when I got evicted from that particular spot, I had already paid my rent. They gave me my rent money back because they said the rent's $500 now. And like I said, this was 12 years ago. I was like, okay, fine, here's $500. Now, I had been living there for 10 so years. So they said, nope, we're going to give you your money back. We want you to leave in 45 days. And that's how I got to where I'm at now, which I actually paid, I paid less money to live here and I got, twice the space. Actually, probably a little more. I have 3 floors here. I only have 1 floor there. So there's that. So sometimes it's a blessing. But nonetheless, it did put me in a position where I did not have enough income to sustain this place when my accident happened. So when I got into that car accident, I lost my job. I lost my vehicles. I was on foot. I had to find a way to pay the rent until I got, my payments that came in from disability and, that whole thing. Once they came in, I was okay. And then I lost all that money that came in because, just life. So I had to find something else to do. And that's how I got into appliances. And I'm okay now. But nonetheless, my rent has gone up almost $300 since then. And about every 2 years, they raise the rent. Right now, my rent is $800. Some people are like, that's not a lot of rent. I'm like, considering where I live, that is pretty significant considering where I live. Now, this area that I live in, they're building this area up. Now, the place across the street had some apartments. It was the hood. It was the hood. And hey, what's going on, young fella? And it was the hood, and it was torn down, boarded up windows, broken down vehicles. It was a project. It was the projects, fights, people going through there, killing people. It was bad over there, just right across the street. It was bad. They tore that whole thing down and kicked all those people out. They said, you all got to go. But about time they decided to kick everybody out, there wasn't a lot of people living there. There was a lot of drugs and everything running through that whole section. They were like, no, we're not having this. They got tired of it, kicked everybody out. Somebody else came in and bought that whole property. They built up a whole new, whatever. They got restaurants. Everything is beautiful over there now. That rent over there now is $1,000. So with that rent being $1,000, everything is new. The property where I live at, they're trying to follow suit. Because the city that I live in went ahead and the places that I live in were made for the military, which is right next door. They also own the property that's across. There's another main street about half mile that way. They owned all of those properties back there. Well, they went and tore all those down. They kicked all of those people out. And I mean, it goes back. There are a lot of apartments back there. They kicked all of them out. They said everybody has to go. I see you grew hair back. Yeah. Cost of living. And I can't lie, I miss Donald Trump Biden's trip for sure. But this was all planned. So I went back over there yesterday because there's a car company. I like to look at their trucks and everything. But nonetheless, I went back over there yesterday. They're tearing it all down. The city is taking that over. When the city takes that over and they build that up, the cost of living where I'm at is going to go up because they're going to try to match stride with the people over there. And so what I think is going to happen within the next probably 3 years, I think the people who own this apartment complex, they're going to shut everything down. They're going to shut it down. One, because they got roaches. I don't have to fight them off. I don't have them anymore. But I actually had to come out of pocket to fight these things. And there's some severe roaches, like the kind that you just can't spray them with Raid and get rid of all of them. You can't do that. You have to actually treat your house. Like I was up every night waiting for roaches to come out to try to kill these bastards. And then finally got some roach food to kill them. I mean, it took me a long time to get rid of them. But boom, I'm finally rid of them. My neighbor, he had the same issue. My other neighbor had to move out because the roaches were climbing through their apartment to my apartment. But me, I get appliances, right? So when people move out, I go and get their old refrigerators, stoves, dishwashers, and I tried to resell them, but I had to stop reselling them because they had roaches. So most of the apartments here are infested with roaches. Now, when I was younger, when I was 14, 15 years old, I moved into an area that was the same thing, projects. And by the time I was 17, 18, they kicked everybody out. It was like everybody has to go. They kicked all the people out because it was roach infested. The roaches took it over. They couldn't fight them anymore. There was nothing you could do. Roaches everywhere, every day. And we hated roaches. We declared war on them, but they ate everyone out of house and home. They were ridiculous. So that they tore that whole place down, kicked all those people out. Now the same thing is happening everywhere. So when you see projects, where low income housing, and those projects have pests, rats, roaches, and things and all that, and you see that the landlord is fighting it, but they're not fighting it to the best ability. What's happening is the landlord has already made plans to sell the property. Somebody who has a lot of money, millions of dollars, who doesn't even live in that same town, has already looked at that property and has evaluated that property and said, we're going to pay so many millions to go ahead and clean that up, build it up, but everybody has to go. So you're seeing a lot of YouTube channels are talking about the same thing. There are a lot of Black people getting thrown out. Another thing that's getting Black people thrown out of their places is the violence. So the last YouTuber I looked at, this guy was in Atlanta, and they had a whole thing on the news where they gave these people in Atlanta, I don't know what projects it was, they said, you people have 2 months to leave. Most people on low-income housing just can't do that. So they gave them 2 months to leave, and they wanted to know, was it legal to give them that letter and say, you have to leave? The answer is absolutely yes, it is legal. Is it legal to still collect rent? No, it is not. Because you can't keep paying rent all the way up until the very day you get evicted and then be able to buy another spot to live. So it's morally and ethically wrong. And you can go to jail for ethics. So, you know what I'm saying? People have gone to jail for ethics before. So you say, well, they can't go to jail for it. Yes, you can. You can go to jail for it, and landlords have been penalized for ethics. If you look at New York, there is a lot of ethical laws that are broken in New York, and those landlords get fined for it. They get in trouble for it. It goes on a lot in New York. As a matter of fact, the last time they had a burning building there and like 12 people died or something like that, a few people died. When you look at really what happened, it was because of the way the building was being heated. The people couldn't get enough heat in the dead of winter, and somebody turned something on and started a fire, and that was it. Killed a bunch of people. That happened in New York, and they found out it was because of the landlord. So you can get in trouble for ethics, just to let people know that. So, like I said, the story I was looking at was in Atlanta, and I recognize that story because it's happened to me a few times. I'm like, this has happened a few times to me. And if there's violence, if there's a lot of violence in that area, listen, these people don't have to put up with you. The area that I just came from had a lot of violence. I mean, my neighbor killed my other neighbor. And that neighbor used to throw his wife down the stairs. I would go down the stairs and I would see a white woman at the bottom of the stairs. And I'd be like, are you okay? She'd be like, yeah. And she would just lay there. I'm like, do you want help getting up? She'd say no. She would lay at the bottom of the stairs. I just went out the back door because it wasn't my business, but she didn't want me to help her. That woman is now dead. The husband is in jail for life. There's a lot of violence there. So they're like, hey, we're tired of this. So not only did they get rid of anybody who was, committing violence, that whole block is all gentrified at this point. You don't find a lot of people living there, a lot of Black people living there. That whole block is different. And not only that, because the city knows where the violence is coming from because of the cops. They went to the other side of that main street and worked their way up to Long Street, Mound Street, and all those other streets. And they were just like, what do we need to get rid of here? I mean, one time I was at the welfare office and they shut down the welfare office because two men came running through there with rifles. They had just got into a shooting from the projects right across the street. They were like, we're shutting it down. These guys ran through there with rifles. Like, it's serious. So if you are in these areas or around these areas and you can afford to get out of these areas, I'm telling you now, get away from there. Team up with your family if you can, because not all family you can live with. But get out of these areas because it is real. These white people are not playing anymore. These people from India, you know, they got money. They're coming in. They're buying up all this property. So it's not black people buying all this property. It's not. It's not. Let's just face that. There are a lot of rich black people, but they're not buying up property like this. Black people are buying up property. Maybe they'll buy a house or two, stuff like that. They'll buy a duplex, maybe a fourplex, but they're not buying whole projects. I don't know any black person buying whole projects. But another case, look at Cabrini Green. Look what happened to Cabrini Green. Shut it all down. If you've never seen Cabrini Green, just look at it on a video. Just go to YouTube and look up Cabrini Green. Your mind will be blown. I never seen nothing like it. I drove past it and I thought it would never end. It was just miles of projects. And it was like, how many black people live in there? It's all gone now. I think they shut it all down. Because of the violence, because of the rodents, because of the rats, because of the missing children, because of just the sheer, it costs the city so much to house and to take care of people like that. It just costs them too much. And these are not working people. You gotta understand, this is low income housing. These people aren't working. They look at those people as, and I was one of those people. They looked at us as, you're not contributing to America. So to displace you, who cares? You're not a contributor. You're not a major contributor to the functions of the city. You're actually a blight on the city. Look at New York. The projects in New York. They started warning those people. All these gang members up there talking about they represent this project and represent that project. That's coming to a screeching halt. Because you grew up here, you represent these streets, but you don't own that one of them. They're sick of the gun violence. They're sick of the police officers going in there and getting killed. They're tired of that. That's coming to a screeching halt. They're like, okay, fine, we're done with it. What they did was they raised the rent. They know it's low income housing. They know it's drug infested. They know ordinary people live there, but there's too much riffraff that live there too. So what they did, they raised the price of rent in New York. When you raise the price of rent in low income housing, you already know that they get their money from where? The government. It's a fixed income. And this is not SSI, SSDI. This is welfare. Period. Dot. This is not unemployment. This is welfare. They live under the poverty line. They make less than $20,000 a year. They're living under the poverty line. If you raise the rent $50, it's a threat to them. And then you got, okay, out here, there's a project out here where there's nothing but women. There are no men allowed to stay in these projects. None. They can come visit their kids, but they cannot stay overnight. And I was in this project before. I was up there doing some janitor work for 2 days. It's a mess because these women fight amongst each other because there's no men. It's just all women. Men aren't allowed to come there and stay there. They completely block that. And they say, if you violate these rules, you got to go. You think those women are working? Absolutely not. Those women don't work. They don't contribute not one thing. Not one. I mean, if they did any work, it's going to be shoot, I don't even think they can work that much. That's another thing. A lot of these projects and the way these low income houses are set up, if you go out, okay, Starbucks. Starbucks has been bragging about they're paying their people more money. So let's just look at Starbucks, what they pay here in my city. So the cost of living, $9 an hour for crew members and it goes up to $27 per hour for administration assistant. The average Starbucks salary ranges from approximately $18,000 per year for a barista to $82,000 for a district manager. So most people are going to be what? In the barista, right? So most people are baristas. They're making $18 an hour. That's nine. They're making $18,000 a year. That is $9 an hour. That's what that is. Now ask yourself, if you're making $9 an hour, for one of your baristas, there's a good chance you're not working full time. And they've also changed full time. Full time is no longer 40 hours. I mean, just drink that in. You're making $9 an hour, and you're not even working 40 hours. Full time now is somewhere like 32 to 35 hours. So it's changed. That's full time. And what they've done with that, and they said, well, in order to get around that, because the laws change, when that changed, they said in order to get around that, we're not going to have everybody work 32 to 35. We're going to have you work like maybe 30 hours a week. That's it. You know what they do when they do that? They cut out your health care. But Starbucks has reversed that and said, we're going to give people health care. We're going to give them dental. We're going to give them this, that, and the third. And we're going to, raise the salary. So you got some people at Starbucks who are making like $17 an hour. Well, if you're making $9 an hour, you're pretty much under, let me make this official and tell you what the poverty line here is in Ohio. I believe it's 20, hold on. Poverty line in Ohio is that equates to $46,000 a year or below for the family of four, according to Ohio Department of Development. The federal poverty line level for 2020 standards are at $26,500. Below eligible are the eligible income levels for the different size household. So, up to 22. So it's around 22 is what I thought, which is $12 an hour. So if you're making $9 an hour and you're not even working 30 hours, you are under the poverty line. You see where things get pretty sticky? It's like, okay, I'm $9 an hour. I don't work 40 hours a week. I'm definitely under the poverty line. Now, you can do that and still receive some type of benefits, but then there's how much benefits can you receive? And that also includes how many children do you have? A lot of this is based on children. But then also, like I said, it includes how many children do you have? Have you seen the recent viral video where the man was working at Burger King for 27 years? You seen that? He was working there for 27 years, and they gave him like a sticker, like a candy bar, and some other goofy stuff. They didn't say they gave him a raise, and he was a crew member. He was the same crew member. They didn't say he was management. He doesn't own anything. It's the same thing. The people saw that and were just like, screw that. They made a GoFundMe for him. The man got almost $200,000 for his GoFundMe, and no one's complaining. No one's like, he doesn't deserve. No, the man did almost 30 years. People retire like that. Almost 30 years, and he got like a piece of candy and a sticker. People are like, screw that. The man can retire now. He's got almost $200,000. Boom, he can go and do something else. But of course, he won't. He'll probably go right back there to work because he's a good worker. So what I'm saying is, when it comes to the poverty line, which here in Ohio, which is $12 an hour, if you're under $12 an hour, you can receive some type of allotment from the government. You can also receive some type of health care from the government in some kind of way. But if you're a landlord, if you're in low income housing and you're on PIP or something like that, PIP will help pay your electric, they'll help pay your gas, and they'll help pay some other things and give you a couple dollars. But when your rent goes up, like in my case, my rent has gone up $300 since I moved in here. I've lived here for 10 years. My PIP doesn't pay more. PIP doesn't pay more. The only thing that will go up in the cost of living is my SSDI. That's gone up. And or but PIP doesn't go up. PIP doesn't say, okay, now we're going to pay $60 no, they don't pay more. These programs, a lot of them don't pay more. So you're stuck with that. That $300 is coming out of your pocket some kind of way. And if you're making $9 an hour plus you're getting some assistance, trust me, you're not eating steak and lobster every day. What basically is happening as the cost of living goes up, especially as drastic as it is now, you're finding a lot of people can't afford to live where they live. They just can't do it, especially if they're living alone. But let's just say you have a twofold income and it's, you got 3 kids, you're in trouble. With the way things are going up right now, you're in trouble. If you live 20 miles from where you work, you're in trouble. Because if you have to catch the bus, that's one thing. But those fares have gone skyrocket too, because gas is going up. But if you have to drive, you're in big trouble. You're in big trouble. If you have an SUV, I'm trying to tell you, both my trucks are running differently now than before the war started. They are. My one truck is it fibrillates. I have to go down and buy an additive from Napa and put it in my gas tank every now and then just to get my truck to run better. I'm telling you, things are different. So there are a lot of people who are getting evicted and they're not going to have a place to go. Now, some cities and some hotels have hotel vouchers. So there are some programs that have hotel vouchers. So if you go to the, whatever department is, Department of Development, whatever it is in your city that has the homeless problem or where you're at, and say, hey, do you have any programs? I know Veterans has a program. So that's usually where I go, but you can burn them out too. They don't want to see me. But there's also city programs where you can go to and they will give you a food voucher and an apartment voucher. A hotel voucher. That hotel voucher will put you in whatever said hotel is, that it's good for. They all know the program. As long as you follow certain rules, you can go ahead and stay there until you find, a place that's substantial for you to go. However, those don't last forever. So now you're looking at that whole program burning itself out because the hotel still has to get money from the city. So the city's paying for your rent now. I mean, everything is cyclical. Nothing is free. Everything, there's something tying in somewhere. So if you have more people who are becoming homeless and in need of these vouchers, you have more money coming from the city going into these programs. And the barrel's got to burst somewhere. So they either have to put up another projects, pay millions of dollars and put up another projects and try to keep it as sprack as possible, or B, people live in a hotel for the rest of their lives, or C, people burn out the hotel vouchers and they're out on the street. In California, you find a lot of people who have reached the sea level. There's nowhere for them to go. They're living outside. They're defecating all over the place. It has become a pandemic over there in California. It's getting pretty bad, pretty bad. But I just wanted to talk about that. I wanted to see what you guys thought about that. If you guys had any questions or anything you wanted me to look up, I don't know who's going through that right now, but I pretty much feel the walls closing in on me. So I'm going to have to make some decisions pretty soon. I've already started looking. And I mean, I actually have to look for a part-time job. I actually have to find, where some stable contract work. I mean, I like what I do with my appliances and all that, but, it's not stable. It's hit or miss. I need to find something stable, even though I can afford to go somewhere else right now. If I go out and start looking, they're going to say, what's your income? You know what I mean? I can't really rely on my appliances because that has tanked. Once the world opened up, that's tanked. I still make sales, but not a lot, and that's cool because I don't really need to make a lot of money. But nonetheless, it's not a consistent, reliable income to the point where I can put it down on paper. I just can't, because sometimes for months I'll sell like one item, and you know what I mean? So it counts as a loss to me because I have to pay for, storage and all that other good stuff. So I need to look for something steady and then go out and present myself and say, hey, I'm not a bum. I want to live in this apartment and hopefully move up instead of move, back. I mean, I really don't want to pay more. Nobody wants to pay more. But if I can afford to, I'll pay, the apartments across the street from me now, they're $1,000 to $1,200. Very nice apartments. Very, very nice. I don't want to move over there, but they're very nice apartments. I mean, if I could afford it, would I go over there? Yeah, I'd go over there. But you see, the problem is when you come from a situation like mine, you just can't go where you want unless they can look and see that they're not going to have to evict you because you can't pay the rent. Other than that, you're going right back into low-income housing. And there's also veterans housing. But, veterans housing is very small. So you'd be looking at a one-bedroom and sometimes an efficiency, and you'd still be paying, $700. You're going to have some bugs. I mean, you know what I mean? So that's the situation that's going on here. They're tearing those apartments down. And, the city is buying them. So you guys who are causing trouble in your neighborhoods, you're in trouble. There was another project out here they called Uzi Alley. They called it Uzi Alley because there was a guy who was running around terrorizing people. They called him Uzi because he would shoot people, shoot them up, and drug infested and everything. They tore that whole thing down. They kicked everyone out. They sent everyone a letter and said, you all have to leave. There was no big, where are we going to go? There was like, you need to leave now. I used to live in those projects. And what they did was they tore it down. They tore down the projects. They tore down the trees. They flattened that whole area out. And they built a school. They built the African American school right there. And then across the street from it, what they did was they built the VA hospital. A brand new hospital. They said, we're going to build a brand new hospital. Boom. They put a brand new hospital up there. Then they took the reason why they built that school over there is because the original African American school is sitting down, is about maybe 1.5 miles, 2 miles from there. And the area they were sitting in was right across the street from Children's Hospital. So Children's Hospital looked at that whole area and said, we're going to build a new hospital here, but we don't want that school there. We want to displace this school but we'll build you a brand new school. And they built it in the hood. So they had to put it, they had to make it, I mean, the people could have said, no, we're not leaving, we've been here. But Children's Hospital said, we're going to build you a brand new school, a brand new track, and we're going to get rid of the riffraff. And that's exactly what they did. And that is owned by Nationwide. Nationwide Insurance, they own that brand new hospital. They erected that whole thing in no time. Then, and trust me, it was the hood. These are all places that were drug infested, people terrorizing each other. And right across the street from it, they built this beautiful, another building and garage, beautiful garage. Next thing you know, a Starbucks on the corner, a new McDonald's. That whole area looks unrecognized. They built new road for it, just unrecognizable. I'm like, this is not the same place it was 10 years ago. They built that joint up real quick. Anybody come through there want to cause some trouble, they got police around there 24/7. 24/7, wishing somebody would. Wishing. And these are not regular cops. These are city beat down cops. Wish you would come through there talking about you going to do something to somebody. You will, trust me, you will go to jail in pain if you even make it. And if they do you right there on the street, nobody's going to bat an eye because it is a white area now. And that's it, and that's all. It is a white area. That's it. That's it. We don't care that you grew up here, your family, nobody cares. All the businesses that were owned by black people, nobody cares. They're all gone. They're all wiped out. All of them. They built that school there, and that school had just built a brand new track. So they got the funding to build a brand new track on there. And they said, no, we don't care about your brand new track. We'll build another one for you. Just give us this land. Boom. They said, fine, take the land, build us a new school. They built them a new school, built a new track, got rid of all the crazies around there. Got rid of all the crazy people around there. Boom, all gone. You can walk around there like it's nothing now. So yeah, gentrification is really happening, and it's benefiting white people, trust me. And I mean, you could think that, oh, this benefited black people. You could think that. You could look at that and go, oh, it's a new school. You know, what's your complaint? And it's not really a complaint that it's a new school and it's a new track. That's not really it. What it really is you took people out of their neighborhood and you relocated them. That's what's really going on. So when you have people who grew up in a certain area, their memories are in that area. And when you say, hey, we're going to build you a better place, not everybody wants it to be better. People want what they're used to, what they're comfortable with. You got people who are hood dudes and females. You can put them in a nice neighborhood. A lot of hood people got money. You can put them in a nice neighborhood. You know what? They'll want to come back to the hood. Why? Because, for one, the neighbors don't want them there. They'll be calling the police on them all the time. For no reason. Go YouTube. You'll see it all the time. They don't have to do anything, but the neighbors are uncomfortable with them. That's for one. They're being harassed by the neighbors. For two, they don't know anyone. They don't know nobody. They don't really want to know Bob and Marge. It's just like, hi, but you guys aren't me. You don't look like me. You don't do what I do. It's a good chance you're going to be snooping around here. I'm uncomfortable around you. If Marge calls the police, they'll be kicking in my door. You got a daughter. If your daughter says I did something, I have to prove that I'm innocent. And after losing thousands of dollars and sitting in jail, getting my ass kicked, and then you find out that the little trick lied, and she doesn't get punished, you don't get punished, I lose all my money, the police have a good time whooping my ass, and that's it, and that's all. No, I don't want to deal with any of that. I'd rather go right back to the hood with Chandrika and her badass kids, because I know them. I know what those kids are going to do. I know what those kids are like. I know their baby daddies. I know the baby mama. I know exactly what they're going to do every day. I know how they act because I act like they do. You can call us what you want, but we're here because we recognize each other's personality. We're not uncomfortable with each other. That is a big deal. So yeah, you can move people out of the hood, but you can't move the hood out of people. So sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's like not so good. It's just like telling a farmer to move into a city. A farmer's gonna be like, hell no. Be like, but you're a poor farmer. Be like, I'd rather be a poor farmer than to be a rich city dweller. They don't understand me getting up at 3 a.m. They don't understand me talking to the animals. I get a catharsis. Of course, they wouldn't say catharsis, but nonetheless, they'll say it in some other kind of meaning. And I have a whole relationship with my cow. I wouldn't give this cow, it's the best cow I ever had. You know how much milk comes out of this cow that feeds the local store? Absolutely not. Betsy over here, it's the damn best cow I ever had. Absolutely not. I'm gonna stay right here. You just can't do it. So there's that. But there are people being forced out of their homes and away from their neighborhoods. They're displacing families, and they're not doing it with you in mind, but they're doing it with you in mind. They don't care about you. They care about the bottom line. And you're not part of the bottom line. You have to understand, most of America is poor. Most of America can't afford to move. Most of America is not even $100 from being homeless. You're not. And that's not a lie. The majority of people in America do not have 300. There's a high percentage. They don't even have $300 in the bank. This is go to work, come home, go to work, come home. You don't have $300 in the bank, you're not going nowhere. They also did a statistic and found out that the majority of people do not have $1,000 for an emergency. This is a flat tire. Everybody thinks emergency, you got hit in the head with something. No, emergency is flat tire in the middle of the winter. There are people who die from that. White, black, doesn't matter. There are people who literally die from that. Because they didn't have a spare. They got caught in the middle of the heat, dead. They had a phone that wasn't updated or no phone at all, dead. Kid you not. Kid you not. You hear stories about it all the time. One guy that I knew of died last year from the cold. I had no idea he was homeless until I saw his face on the news. It was like, yeah, this guy died. I was like, I see that guy all the time. He would dance at all the festivals. He's dead. He froze to death. Because downtown there's a place called the 3rd Street Bridge. The homeless would hover up under the 3rd Street Bridge in zero weather. They would all huddle together. And you would just see, you go down there and you drive, you would just see plastic tents and blankets, and there are people up under there, and some of them are dead. And people would just drive by like it's nothing, be like, there are dead people right there. Downtown, middle of the day, those people up under there are not alive. It is 0 degrees. They're not alive. And you look at them and they're not moving. They're dead. Every year. So what the city start doing is the city said, we recognize that these people are dying every year. So when it hits a certain degrees, the city would line up all the buses downtown and run all the buses until it's time for the buses to start running a regular schedule. Here, the buses stop at a certain time. So at 11 o'clock, when they would change the shift and go turn the buses in, they would get other bus drivers to do from 11 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the morning. And they would just sit there, and whenever somebody come by, they would open the bus, and they wouldn't charge them. They'd be like, come on in and sit down. And the people would just sit there until the morning because the bus was warm. And people were literally, every year, the homeless were dying. And the 3rd Street Bridge is, I mean, how long would it take to walk from the 3rd Street Bridge to where the buses were? At a regular pace, 15 minutes. 15 minutes maybe. At a regular pace. It's a small hill you gotta come, boom. Come right up that hill, Broad Street sitting right there. There are the buses right there on Broad and High. 15 minutes. 3rd Street Bridge right there, 15 minutes walk. That's it. Dead. And they're doing this and people are still dying in the winter. Dead. Just to let you know, that's going to escalate because of the price of inflation. It's gone up. Like it's bad out here. So if you guys are in any of those situations where you think you're going to be, don't wait until you get your eviction notice. Start looking at programs that are helping with that because there are programs that are helping with that. Start making phone calls to these programs, even if you're going to casually do it. But if you're living in any projects that has roaches, rats, or anything, any projects that are beat down, and or if you're living near any projects that are like that, you better believe that if you're in a rent-controlled atmosphere, your rent's going up. It's going up. And look, even some of my customers who live in very nice areas, they're paying $2,500 for rent. They're complaining about the rent going up, okay? But the thing about them is they could probably handle a rent increase or they would get out of there. For those who are, because they're not on they're on a fixed income that they make. So they're in more control. They're not on a fixed income that the government gives to them. You see what I mean? So if you're on an income that the government gives to you, SSI, welfare, so on and so forth, you can't make the government increase that. If anything, the government will decrease it. So you have to think on your toes and go, maybe I don't need a 2-bedroom. Maybe I need a 1-bedroom. If I have a 1-bedroom, how much would it cost to live there? Maybe I should look into HUD housing. HUD housing is kind of scary though, because you know it's a low income area. You know you might have to fight off a few bugs. It's just one of those situations. You know there's gonna be more crime. So you gotta make up your mind if you want to go the HUD way. It might not be advantageous for you to do HUD and say, oh, I only pay $12 a month to live in a place where the roaches are eating my cats. Because that actually did happen. That actually did happen to a lady. The roaches literally ate her pets. Literally. And it was so bad that they were crawling all over her. And when people finally decided to intervene, because this lady wasn't going nowhere, she was older. When they finally decided to intervene, they called the police. When the police came to the doors, the roaches attacked the police. It really did happen. The police ran from the roaches. You understand what I'm telling you? They got the hell out of there. They had to call a special crew to come in that was dressed in hazmat uniform and come in there and get the lady out. And the roaches attacked them, but they were ready for it. So they grabbed the lady and was just like, man, they got her out of there. sprayed her down, cleaned her up, went back in there, tore the whole thing down. There's nothing they can do because the roaches, they hide in the walls behind the light sockets and stuff. These roaches were everywhere and they were super aggressive. They were eating the pets. Okay? That's a different kind of roach. You don't want to play those games. Anyway, it's your boy Tone 202. If you're getting evicted, get yourself in a better situation. Stay prayed up. I'm out.